in Sync 366 video series. This is a video series where I come on here every day this year to talk about alignment to the natural laws, to source energy, creator, really just alignment to physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual alignment. So every day I've been doing videos to help people really put in practical application of these principles that help us align and readjust our frequency, our personal frequency, because we're all energetic, vibrating beings. So we'll just wait 5 minutes to see who jumps on here. Hi, Zoya. Good to see you. This is a follow-up from yesterday. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Zoya's coming in from Saudi Arabia, which I don't even know what time it is there. Hey, Oliver. All right, we have an admin person helping in the mods today. Yay. Even though, see, Zoya, the thing about fear is that's probably going to be one of my videos that was like the least amount of people that's seen it. Fear is such an interesting topic. A lot of people feel it. Hey, South African boys, good to see you. Good to see you. And today we're talking about who we would be without fear. Wonder what question we can ask in the poll, just out of curiosity. 11 p.m., so not too late. Good to see you all. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you and participating. You know, not, as you can see, not everybody is into being in alignment. And it's a challenge. You know, it's a very humbling experience, and you know, and it's for everybody, but not everybody wants to actively participate in their own awareness. So that's what this channel is all about. I have so many videos on different topics, and today's topic is, who would you be without fear? And this is a pretty big question, and it really gets to the heart of who we are. So I'm going to start talking about the topic when we get about 5 minutes. Let people join in here. Until then, we'll just say, hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, this topic is about fear. It's a follow-on from yesterday's discussion. And we're going to talk about fear until fear is something that's so small and it doesn't drive your decisions, which is a good question to ask. I'm going to ask that question. Here we go. I'm going to put something in the polls here. Going to go silent as I ask this in voice text. Okay. So this is an interesting question. I had not considered it before, but does fear drive your decision making? I think that's interesting. And are you even aware when you're in fear? A lot of people are, when you're in the ego mind, a lot of people aren't even aware. Hey, Shane, good to see you. Oh, I love the flower. Thank you. I accept the flower. What was I going to say? What was I saying? I got distracted by the flower. A lot of people aren't even aware that they're in fear. And so I think the first thing is to become aware of when you're in fear, because oftentimes you might notice that the ego will keep you from even acknowledging that you're in fear. So our mind has programs that keep us locked into frequencies of low vibrations. Why would that be? Well, there are people that benefit from you being in a lower vibration, you know, and so when we want to rise up, we become more powerful, we become more empowered, we become more clear, we become more connected, and that's not what everybody wants for humanity. So, yeah. So let's just see. Today I'm going to talk about 3 aspects of fear, answering the question, who would you be without fear? And this question really drives home another question. And if you know me, if you've been here before, you know that I like to ask good, high quality questions, open-ended questions. So who would you be without fear is directly going to help you answer the question, who am I? And if you don't know who you are, then you're going to struggle. That lack of clarity is really drives a problem when it comes to confidence, self-esteem, self-assuredness, security, and also it drives fear, because if you don't know who you are, you will be more influenced by, let's just say, the environment, by your family, by social pressures, those types of things. So for those of you who are new, I'm just going to talk a little bit here about the topic, usually about 10-15 minutes, and then I'll go into the chat to see what you all have to say. Without fear, I'd probably be a lot more like lively and energetic. Good awareness, South African boys, because when we are in fear, it drives a siphoning energy to latch onto you. That's how we get what's called energetic attachments. Now, I don't like to talk about that a lot on here. I do talk about it in my one-on-one sessions because energetic attachments siphon your life force. So there are ways that you can strengthen, and the biggest thing that you can do to strengthen your energy field, to build an inner congruence, is to have that connection directly with God. That is not through church. I don't care if you go to church. I don't care what religion you follow. The key is that you have a direct connection to your heart, that you can feel your heart, that you can align within. That is going to be your best protection, because that is going to help you build what is called the armor of God. You don't get the armor of God from just going to Bible study. You don't. You get the armor of God when you build that inner relationship with God. Now, how you do that is totally up to you. I think it's just important that you hear different ideas of how to build that inner congruence. One of the ways is to know who you are. Who are you? And when you say, who would I be without the fear? And you're answering that question, and South African boy says, I'd have a lot more life to me. I would be more energetic. That is 100% true, because when you know who you are, you connect in to the strength of who you are. Now, I believe that we're all children of the Most High. And if that is what you believe too, then you are in alignment to the natural laws. The natural laws state that you command your energy field, so there is no one that should be siphoning your energy at all, ever. It happens. It does happen, but it doesn't have to be that way. Okay, so who would you be without the fear? You want to answer that question. And one of the questions here is, answers that I saw from South African boys, is that he would be more energetic and more lively. Check. When you are in alignment, fear is not driving you, and then you have direct connection to life force. I love that answer. So yeah, when I'm not in fear, I'm in connection to life force. That's the truth. Fear is not the truth. So let's go to number 2. Who would you be without the fear? You would be more in alignment to your authentic self. Where is your power? Your power is always going to be in alignment with your most authentic self. So some of you say, I've seen this in the past on the chat, I'm afraid to talk to this person about what I think, or about this person about what I feel. Like, if you're blocking, consciously you're not being in alignment with your truth, that means that your truth is either being suppressed or oppressed, whether it's happening energetically or whether it's happening consciously, that you are consciously suppressing your authentic self. that is going to disconnect you from life force. So you will be more tired. You will have more illness. You will have more weaknesses in your field. If you want to have a stronger energetic field, well, then the truth is that you have to align to your authentic self. Well, who is your authentic self? When we've been conditioned and programmed and taught to be something that we're not. Let's just say we were bullied into thinking that life was one way, and we were told to do this, and then we learned, oh, it's not like that at all. They got me. And I remember the first time I got had, it's happened many times, but the first time I got had, I was like, oh my gosh, they got me. They got me. And and that's a humbling experience. The key is that you want to be humbling all the time. You want to be humbled. That is out of the ego mind. That is in direct connection to the heart, is to be humble. Now, that's something I'm working on. I am in connection to my heart, but I am also very direct. So I'm working on this really interesting, dicey path with being my most authentic self, which is honest and direct and forthright in my truth, but doing it in such a way that doesn't repel others. Although I know that oftentimes, sorry, I'm fussing with my hair here. Oftentimes that when I'm direct, it really shocks people, and I don't want to shock people. Although I think that's a gift sometimes. But so when you answer the question, who would I be without fear? You want to go back to the question, who am I? And then also answer the question, what does my authentic self look like? Who is my authentic self? How does my authentic self express when I'm not in fear? And I want you to write it down. Start playing with just kind of brainstorming who you would be. And write those things down, because that is going to put you in the state of what we are always in, which is continuously becoming. However, if we don't have clarity on who we're becoming, we just fall into the trap, and this is a consciousness trap, of repeating patterns, because that's what you know. So you do what you know until you know differently, but you must be willing to go into the unknown in order to align to your authentic self, because your authentic self is somewhere buried beneath these false beliefs that you believe, these ideas that you have about programs and conditioning, which are not truly who you are. But unless you start to challenge, and this is the third one, you must challenge your thinking, right? Because if you're not challenging your thoughts, then your thoughts become form. And your thoughts are usually incongruent with your heart. So if you're not challenging that incongruence, you then go into an agreement with that incongruence, and that becomes a pattern that you replicate over and over and over again. Now, that can change when you change. It can't change without you changing. Okay, number 4. I just want to say that when you answer the question, who would I be without fear? Part of the answer within your answer is going to be more in alignment with your personal integrity. Your personal integrity is fundamental and a foundation of your relationship with God, source energy, creator. When you have built a solid foundation of personal integrity, and a lot of you have done it very well in a lot of ways, with the exception of how you are treating yourself. So a lot of people have integrity with how they treat other people, and some people have vice versa. They have it totally with themselves and not with other people. You want to have integrity in all aspects of your beingness. That means all aspects of your life, your career, your personal relationships, your friendships, your finances, your family life, your Your free time, like literally every aspect of your life, you want to be in integrity, because when you have created full integrity within, then we create a strong spiritual immunity. Okay, and spiritual immunity is built on integrity, it's built on your authentic self, and it's built on alignment with the truth of who you are. So anyways, I am curious, what do you all think about the question? And let's see, what do you guys, so more than half of you are making decisions out of fear. So I'm going to end that poll and answer that question. When you are making decisions out of fear, you are putting into action a pattern of fear. It becomes solidified, and then it goes into, it's a fear matrix, y'all. So when it goes into that one pattern goes and impacts every ripple of your energy field. So if you're making any decisions out of fear, pause. Once you know that you're making a decision out of fear, pause and feel the fear. See what that fear is connected to, and then challenge that fear in this way. Why do I think that? Where did that come from? What belief is attached to that? Fear. And really start to go down that rabbit hole. That is an aspect of self-reflection that's going to bring you rewards. And that's what you deserve, is the fruits of your self-reflection. Because when you have self-reflection, you then have self-awareness. When you have self-awareness, you can elevate in higher levels of consciousness. When you know why you do what you do, then you can change what you do. If you know you make decisions out of fear, stop it. Stop it before every decision that you make. Does this resonate with me? Does this feel right to me? That becomes the new question you ask. Is this in alignment with the direction I really want to go? Ask yourself these questions and listen within for these answers. So, really, I just want to say thank you again, Zoya, for this amazing topic. It's so deep, and you know, this is YouTube, so I'm doing my best to keep it surface and yet deep enough for you are the answer to all of the healing you've been looking for. Yes, I help guide people to peace. I help people align physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But I am just guiding my clients right back into themselves and helping release the patterns through conscious awareness. As we go from self-awareness to from self-reflection to self-awareness, then we have conscious choice. We grow and we expand exponentially. It's easier to do with a guide, but you can absolutely do it to and for yourself, because ultimately you are the one who heals yourself. Nobody outside yourself can heal you. So I'm just here to help provide a different way and a different way of looking at things energetically, and obviously to start challenging our thinking, because our thoughts will drive us away from our heart. That's number one. Our thoughts will keep us from our deepest purpose in life. And our thoughts will keep us in patterns that are incongruent to life force, to being in alignment with God and creating a relationship with God. And I've seen on this in the chat a few times that people say, I don't fear anything but God. That's an anti-life consciousness. That's an anti-life consciousness that people are actively engaged with, but they don't know it. So we have to become more aware. Okay, so I'm just going to see what you all have to say here. 10 p.m. in Saudi Arabia, in South Africa. All right. Thanks for being here on a Saturday night, South African boys. I appreciate you. And I'm so happy to see you here participating in your own self-awareness. And I think I've said this before, I've worked with so many military officers in different ranks, all the way from, you know, on the front lines to admirals in the government agencies. And I have a lot of respect for you. And I know how difficult it is to align when you don't have all the access, which is honestly why I started doing these YouTubes, is because I felt that the average person wasn't getting access to these types of ways of being, and I was only exclusively working with executives, and I wanted to change that. So here I am. Hello, Marlon. Hello, Ramen. Good to see you. Okay, Jay. Good to see you. Emerson. Hello. Kevin. Hi. Daddy and a Caddy. That's a fun name. Okay, silent. Shane, I appreciate your flowers. Let's see, what questions do you have about who would you be without your fear? And specifically, any questions about fear that we can discuss that was relative to this topic. Your quantum reality says, I guess I must be in big ego because I don't know fear. That's a great awareness, because your lack of awareness would, and your ego would keep you from having an awareness of fear. So I bet there is something that you have fear about. It might just be also quantum reality that you don't allow it to drive every aspect of your life, which is rare, which is good. You know. Hello, India, Japan. All right. I've been to Japan like 9 times. 9 times. The food is so good in Japan. The people are so nice and the city is so clean. Rob is saying, I'm in fear when I forget to do things. Yeah, so fear of not doing enough, being enough. Right? So why? So go deeper. Why is that something to be in fear about? Why? And look at that. What, when you're laying your head down, like you feel like, oh, I forgot something. And let me tell you, that gasp, that pause, like, oh, I forgot to do something, is going to cause a weakness in your energy field. If you have it often enough, it will create a weakness. And when you have weakness, it is an invitation for other energies to come through that are not necessarily pure. Zoya is saying, without fear, I might feel free and more confident, taking risks without hesitation, but also more vulnerable without caution. Fear provides. Well, what if your being in fear is actually keeping out this thing called discernment, which is also fundamental in your spiritual practice? So because you are attached or have attachment or thoughts about fear helping you, that you've actually omitted this practice of discernment. There's something to consider about that. And you're exactly right, Zoya. You would feel more free. So if you want more freedom, you must have more awareness. So, and if you want more confidence, you have to go out of your comfort zone. So Zoya, the next question becomes, how are you becoming more comfortable with discomfort, meaning going out of your comfort zone? And if you go back to the beginning of the videos in this Being in Sync 366 video series, I talked a lot about going out of your comfort zone, how important it was, and how simple it is to create inner strength by doing little things that cause discomfort, but strengthen you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. But when we stay small, that means small within yourself, you cannot expand. And fear is a contraction that happens over and over and over again. One of the first things I do when I'm working with my clients is help them feel their expansiveness. Why fear when you are here? Thank you. That's funny. South African boys is saying, without fear, it'd probably be a lot more lively and energetic. Yes, I talked about that. Victor is saying, be blessed. Okay, Victor, thank you. You too. Right back at you, multiplied by 1 million, all the way. Okay, there is something strange about the weather today. My thoughts are out of control. I feel like I'm stealing from you, but my mom says stealing is a sin. Well, a lot of people siphon energy from other people. And so that's why it's important to know that you are the one that needs to connect to life force. Because when you're getting energy from another person, or another person is giving energy to other people, and they become more depleted. So it's just like stealing from Peter to pay Paul, right? Exactly what you're saying. You must connect to life force from within. You cannot get it from other people. That is parasitic, and you can get really unclean, unhealthy ways that will lead to addiction, that will lead to more fear of not having enough. It'll lead to a deeper sense of deprivation that you wouldn't want to have. So connect with your heart, Vikash, and see how that works. Aaron, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly. I'm sorry if I am saying it incorrectly. Saying, I suffered from extreme fear of earworms. Wow. I even stopped listening to songs since last 5 years. Aaron, what I think you're sensing is actually probably worms, but also parasites. So I would do a parasite cleanse. But a parasite cleanse, you got it when you're doing a parasite cleanse, and I've recommended this to people in the past because all illnesses often derive from some type of parasitic energy. So what I would suggest is trying that and see what you feel. And also make sure you get the egg. So not all cleanses are equal, so find the one that works best for you. Oh, somebody's asking me if I'm a doctor. No, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I do what's called energy psychology, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual alignment. And as far as I'm aware, most traditional methods do not address all of those aspects. Zoya, without fear, I would like to skydive. Zoya, I say book it. Go skydive. Go do it. And I will tell you, Zoya, when I turned 30, one of the things that I promised myself is on my birthday, I was going to do something every day that made me feel alive. And I started with skydiving. And once you go skydiving, first of all, the chemicals in your body are going to be completely activated because it is a real scary thing to throw yourself out of a plane. But when you get to the other side and you've survived and you realize that you're going to survive, that life is worth living. Life is worth facing your fears. Life is worth moving through your fears because your fears aren't real. They're not real. So don't believe everything you think. Lisa is saying the only fear I have is from tornadoes and lightning storms. Wow, Lisa. So what is that? What does that mean when the weather is your fear? I mean, does that make rational sense to you? So if you really challenge your fears, like what belief is that connected to? And you could see people have different fears. Who would you be without that fear, Lisa? Raymond is saying, I've lost so many opportunities because my ego was terrified by the potential of consequences. Raymond, you're talking about something here that's often referred to in the energy world as the negative ego. And ego work, whether it's an inflated ego or the lower ego, which is the negative ego, doesn't matter. It needs to be addressed. Nobody can address it for you. You must address your own fears and your own thinking. And those are always going to be associated with some sense of program, some type of conditioning, and some kind of belief system that needs to be addressed consciously. That means you can't just pretend it doesn't exist. That's what consciousness is. It's becoming aware of the things that drive you personally, right? In every way, personally, professionally, relationships. These fears influence absolutely every aspect of your wakeful life. So you want to address them, for sure. Thank you, Oliver is saying. If you like what I'm talking about and what you're hearing here, please, I do these videos every day for the Being in Sync 366 video series. I'm just going through the questions to see what people are talking about in the chats. Thank you, Oliver. I'm just going to pin. Oliver said for more information, you can, okay. Mohammed, Mimi, hello. Vax is asking, Vaxland is asking about Jesus. I really believe in Christ consciousness, for sure, 100%. It's a huge part of my my awareness. Zoya is saying, can fear ever be positive force, and if so, how? Well, I don't think it's organic. So Zoya, there's that. But can it be positive? I think if you're learning, that's leveraging a fear into a positive. If you're not learning, then how is fear positive? How is fear actually serving you in a way that's formidable when it's attached to a program and a condition and a belief that is false? That's essentially what fear is. It's false. It's like an imposter spirit, only it's running these programs. Do you want these programs running in your field? No. Okay, then you need to address them. Because if you're not going to, who is? You can't go to a doctor. Doctors don't even talk about this stuff. They don't talk about any kind of spiritual consciousness evolution for the most part. Well, unless they're a client of mine. My clients, our therapists, are talking about these things with their clients. So not all of them. So focus. How do we align ourselves? We align ourselves with the truth frequency, because truth is a frequency, and that frequency is sensed and known through your inner connection. Your inner connection begins with connecting directly with your heart and creating a direct relationship to God, creation, and source energy. Let's see. Hopefully that's helpful. I mean, so focused. I've done a whole video series, over 300 videos on alignment. I mean, there's so many aspects of alignment. And today we're talking about who would you be without fear, because fear is going to misalign you with absolutely everything that's important to your heart. Zoya is saying, how would your decisions change if fear no longer existed in life? Ooh, right? That's a great question, Zoya. Well, if you're more confident, you're going to make, and you're willing to take risks, you're going to make very different decisions. So the question, it really is, who am I? Who am I? Who is my authentic self? Who am I when I'm aligned to integrity? You want to go again, you want to go deeper with answering these questions for yourself and write it on a piece of paper. Then when you're formulating your intentions and your goals for the new year or the next month, that you're in alignment with what's most important, your authentic self, your truth of who you are. And then your whole life starts to build around your inner strength instead of your weaknesses. Mimi is saying, I have a fear of an exam in May and January. Mimi, I don't know how for you to best address that other than what I've already said. Just do your best. If you have a fear about an exam, prepare the best you possibly can and do the best, and then be okay and accept that you did your best. I don't think any test should determine your livelihood, your way of being, your way of expressing. But I know a lot of people in the educational system, you have tests, and those are outside aspects that judge your knowledge, and you do your best every day. That's what you do every single day. Did I do my best? If the answer is no, how can I do better tomorrow? If the answer is yes, great. What do I need to do more of tomorrow? Hey, Eric, good to see you. Good to see you. Jim Boy says, hello, Mimi. Okay. South African Boy says, fear can also drive you away from reaching goals. Yes, I agree with you. Just as an example, we can take a job interview, for example, and if you're scared to take the job interview, you might not end up getting your dream job. Yeah, I can attest to, somebody, I actually did my dream job, and I had an executive saying, you can't possibly have this as your dream job. And I was like, yeah, I love dysfunction. Dysfunction is right for alignment, and everything can be aligned. I am not afraid of dysfunction. I have had the worst groups, the most highly dysfunctional teams, groups of people. They weren't a team, and got them to high performing, because I believe that anything can be realigned. Everything starts with the belief. And if you have not challenged your beliefs, well, then you will end up allowing these false beliefs to dictate your reality. And your reality is your perception, and your perception is your choice. Now, if you're choosing perceptions that keep you in fear, then you want to start to address that. That's what we're talking about today. Because fear is a matrix. And I said this yesterday. It is multidimensional and it's multi-layered. It goes through so many different aspects. So even though you think you're getting, this is my biggest fear, and go conquer it, there's going to be other little fears that are there. You've got to get them all. You don't want fear to be running your life. Thank you, love, loyalty, and success. I appreciate your compliment here. Zoya says, would you still be motivated to achieve your goals if you never felt fear or anxiety? Yeah. I think, yeah. Because if you're not feeling fear or anxiety, which is anti-life forces, okay, let's just say what it is. It's anti-life forces that are tied to your belief systems, and your belief systems have gone unchallenged and unchecked for the vast majority of humanity. And I don't want anti-life forces running any part of my life. No way. No. So anxiety is a manifestation of anti-life forces running energy in your field. There, I said it. The way to drive that out is to have a deep connection to your heart and a deep connection to God. Jeej is saying fear is a major driver in my life. I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, now you have some new information about what that actually is and how to create a deeper relationship with yourself. Eric says, I'm scared of deep freeze. Oh, is it cold there right now in winter, Eric? I used to struggle with being cold all the time, and I hated being cold, and I don't like being in alignment with dislike. That's not my thing. So I do the cold exposure, and that really changed my relationship with temperatures. So something to consider. I am looking at the chat right now for questions. Lots of damage here, like most. I have 5 times. I have changed 5 times and lost it 5 times. Too deep? Kenny, I'm not sure what you're saying there. Kenny, have you tried connecting deeply with your heart? Change of personality. Antonio is saying change of personality, behaviors, environment, relations, etc. What would be the most influential change? I would say connection to your heart, connection to God directly. I really want to give you an answer that I think is really the most helpful. What would be the most influential change? I think those two are the most influential. But Antonio, I think you want something more fundamental than that. So change of personality, behaviors, environment, relationships. I would say, Antonio, what I would say is changing your relationship with yourself and becoming completely aligned to your authentic self, becoming completely aligned with personal integrity, and really challenging your beliefs. I think those 3 things would be the most influential change that would change you internally. And that we know that the internal world creates the external reality. Eric is saying, hi, Oliver. Okay, let's see. Zoya is saying, as a girl, I feel being alone in public, especially because I worry about being harassed. I fear that if I don't do anything wrong, something bad might happen. Zoya, this is a frequency of fear that you're submitting. So it's a signal. So that signal is actually being sent out to attract that back. So you definitely want to address that immediately, because that will create a cascading effect that will bring you down in consciousness. So I would suggest addressing that. And quantum reality is saying, Zoya, something good might happen too. But quantum reality, because her focus is so much on fear, she would miss good happenings. So you really got to focus on the signal within that is not in alignment with God, source energy, creator, which means that you are pure in alignment with all that is good. South African boy says, I was a volunteer. The only fellows with education were officers. I don't understand what a volunteer means. You get paid, right? So you volunteered to go in, is what I'm hearing you say. Asset, no, this is not a psychiatrist channel. Not at all. Couldn't be further from that. But it's so interesting because I don't think this is anything that any other therapists or psychiatrists are talking about. But I don't know. I don't follow traditional methods. Caged Lion is saying, so my fear personally, I went through traumatic instances of rape. I'm not allowed to say that word on here, and abuse. And I've been dealing with it because it's been hard. Any tips? Well, first of all, I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing this instance. Unfortunately, that's not unique, and it's very common to keep people in a state of fear and also make them feeling small. So my tip would be address the trauma head on with yourself. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it, I would say I do trauma very different than most people. I don't need to go into the story of what happened. I address energy of what the situation was. So you take that pulsing fear out of your experience. Oops, sorry. So that's how I address fear. I don't need the story. I just address it energetically. However, I would say do the healing that needs to be done for you. And that means realizing the truth of the situation, which is that trauma is not who you are. It was an experience. This is a more advanced aspect, Caged Lion. So I want you to know this is an advanced practice. But I would, if I was somebody that was working with you, I would first of all address the trauma up front, and to the best of my ability, as much as you are willing, is I would consciously raise your energy field to address the learning. Because although that was a situation, and we've all had traumatic situations, all different, we have all different kinds of pain. It's not to compare one being better or worse than another. It's about your soul journey and your soul lessons and how to learn the lessons so you don't ever attract that kind of situation in your life again. And thank you for being here. I hope that was helpful. Kenny is saying, I went through movement called PEP in Texas prison. The executives were so awesome and kind. They were floored by the things in common that they have a factor. PEP. I've tried working with the Innocent Projects, and that didn't go very far. But Kenny, if you've been in the prisons in any way, shape, or form, you definitely want to make sure that you have addressed parasitic energy in your field. Because it's a feeding frenzy in the prisons. Your quantum reality is saying, I face death. Why would I fear living? And quantum reality, I think that's a good question. But a lot of people have really a deep connection with fear because they're in the fear matrix. Caged Lion, I answered. I hope that was helpful. I'm sorry, I'm just going through this. I'm talking about fear, but Knox is saying energy vampires, those are very relevant for a lot of people. So you don't want that, obviously, because that sucks your life force. Hey, Mick, I see you down there. Good to see you. Zoya's saying, if my heart and soul work as negative energy against fear. What if my heart and soul work as a... So Zoya, we all have a frequency, like a soul signature, but we also have been programmed to run certain energies. So if you are consciously aware that you are in constant fear, that's going to trigger your signal to be adjusted into a different lower frequency, which is going to attract into your reality what it is that you need to learn so you can actually learn who you really are. So Zoya, I would say, write down who is your authentic self and who you would be without fear. And if you are fully aligned with yourself with integrity, how would your life change? And those answers to those questions is going to change how you begin to signal. When you start operating off of who you are becoming instead of who you've been. So you don't want to focus on the fear, and you certainly don't want to try to fight fear, because fighting fear feeds the fear. Feed what you want to grow. You don't want to feed fear. You want to acknowledge it's not even real. How do you know it's not real? Because it's attached to a false belief that you have been living with. So you're the one that needs to address the belief system. Good to see you here, Mick. Hope you're feeling better, my friend. Lots of spam in the chat. Thanks, Oliver, for helping out here. I do what's called, somebody's asking what my specialty is. I do energy psychology. I help people align physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually so they could be more congruent within. They're more aligned to their truth. Zoya is asking, is this true? Fear can protect us from danger, motivate us to improve, heighten awareness, build resilience, and encourage cautious decision making. I think that's a lie. I think you have been conditioned to believe that fear is helping you when fear isn't even real. It's a false matrix that you are connected into, and you want to get out of it. And you need to get out of it from your own personal work that you need to do to realize the truth of who you are. Bamboo is asking, are you a psychologist? And I've answered this already. You could read in the descriptions of who I am. I am not a psychologist. I do energy psychology, which is how patterns run. Thank you so much, Shane. Good to see you here. Hi, Liam. We've been talking about the fear matrix for almost an hour now, so I'm just going to see. Liam, yes, Oliver's trying to help delete messages in the chat, but it's hard. Hey, Mike, good to see you. South African boys. Okay, he's saying as a volunteer you get paid, but as a volunteer you get limited training. You're given a uniform gear and then you're sent to fight. But volunteers aren't necessarily the high society people. Well, South African boy. Well, that is definitely something that happens here in the United States as well. Exactly what you're saying. But I would say that you obviously have a propensity for a high level of consciousness, which makes you very powerful regardless of any education. And I would say that if you start answering the questions that I've posed here, I think you're going to completely unhook from a lot of the programming that you thought things were. And that can be challenging, but there's no doubt you're up for a challenge that's going to give you more freedom and more life force. And certainly, I am here to support on this channel as best I can. If you come to me personally, I can help more. But either way, you just know that you are supported, you are encouraged, and we appreciate you here. And we want the best for you, as we want the best for all of humanity to align to your inner strength that's connected from your heart. Mike White says, where are you on your soul journey? Well, what kind of question is that? I don't even know how I would begin to answer that question. Oh, I'm sorry, Sar. I don't know if I missed your question. Kirk is saying, I'm thinking about moving out of my parents' place. What's your advice? I think you should follow your heart, Kirk. Hello, Brazil. South Media, what is for you being isolated on social interaction? Please help me. This is important for me. I'm not sure I understand the question, South Media. What is for you being isolated on social interaction? I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. Hello, Ankush. Good to see you. We were talking about fear and who would you be without fear, and we've been talking that for 2 days now. Different aspects. Yesterday we went to the soul matrix. We talked about the different layers, and now we're just talking about questions. Mr. White says, what should we do if we hate our life? Well, I would begin to change it because life is too precious to hate. And I would learn how to connect with your heart and how can you shift your attention from what you hate to doing more of what you love. So if you hate your life, you must be in co-creation with a lower, very uncomfortable frequency, if I must say, and know that you can change that the moment you decide that you want to live your life in a different way. Mr. White, is that from the TV show, Mr. White? Hey, Gil. What is for you being isolated? I don't understand your South Media. I don't understand that question. Mick is saying, okay, Kiana, hope you are good. Thank you. I am good. I am. Thank you. JG says, I love everything you say. Well, all right. You don't need to. We can agree to disagree. Hey, Arkansas Matthew, good to see you here. Zoya is saying, last night I dreamt that I was in a prison, but around it there are beautiful flowers and values. After that, I tried to escape, and suddenly I did. I feel extremely happy. All right, Zoya. South Media is talking about what is the definition of fear. Well, I would say it's actually not something that needs to be defined. It's actually a frequency. So it's a lower level frequency that you tap into, and it's actually an energetic matrix. So you could define energy, but mostly you feel it. South African boy says, me and my friends graduated high school and we couldn't get into college. And we had low paying jobs like working as delivery guys. So we read the news and thought we might as well volunteer. Wow. Wow. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's how they get people is they think, well, what's the worst that can happen? They don't think what's the worst that can happen, and the worst can happen. And you've experienced not the worst, but you've seen the worst. You've seen probably the worst that life has to offer out in the field. And so now that you have this life that you have been spared and blessed and alive, that you can change everything that you want to do in life from this moment forward. And use those experiences to leverage into what you want to create for yourself. Dan Poole, is there a painting behind you or a photo? Yes, there is a painting. Yes, good. It's spooky. I've not heard that one. All right, Mr. White says, I can definitely, how can we identify our personal flaws? Nobody wants to admit that they're flawed. Mr. White, I don't think it's about being flawed. It's about having awareness. And then once you have awareness, you can choose differently. So you use self-reflection to get awareness, and then you have awareness to make new conscious choices. The more often you're making conscious choices, the more aware you're going to be. And then you start to expand into consciousness. Sar, I did a whole video on perfectionism. If you could go, it's in this series, so go check it out. All right, y'all, I've gone through all the questions, I think. I may have missed one or two. If I did, I'm so sorry. My name's Kiana Sage. I come on here every day for this Being and Seeing 366 video series. It is December 7th today. That means this series is almost over. So if there's a topic that you want me to check out and to dive into it from the perspective of energy psychology, which is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual alignment, that is how you become congruent. That is how you align. And with that, somebody's at the door. So cheers to Being in Sync. I'll see you tomorrow. And put your notifications on. Bye.